Howdy, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Fort Worth Property Management Podcast. This is episode 5. I am your host, Mason Arispe with First Choice Property Management. We're super excited for today's episode. Episode 5 features our second guest star on the pod, so we're super excited for you to get to hear a different perspective. I know y'all can listen to me ramble on day by day, but we do have a guest star here who's going to be joining us for the second half of the podcast. So stick around for the second half of the podcast where we jump into today's main topic, the top 5 questions that you should ask every property management company that you are considering partnering with. Brett Patrick, a business development manager out of Washington, will be joining us, so stick around to the end. With that being said, let's jump right into it. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Fort Worth Property Management Podcast. This is episode 5, where we're going to dive into the top 5 questions to ask every property manager that you're considering partnering with. I am your host, Mason. I'm with First Choice Property Management here in Fort Worth, Texas. Whether you're a brand new landlord, you're an investor who already has a property management company, or if you're just thinking about buying your first property, this episode is going to be perfect for you. You definitely want to keep this in your back pocket because at some point, if you ever need to call around, interview property management companies, these items that we talk through in this podcast are going to be so useful to make sure that you find the right one and you don't have to constantly be jumping from property management company to property management company. Today's a big one. It affects every single landlord, whether you self-manage or even if you already have a management company. It's all going to be useful for every single one of you. And once we get there, we're not going to be talking surface level questions. We're not going to be talking, what do you charge? And do you just collect rent? We're going to be talking meat and potatoes of questions to ask management companies so that you can truly get to learn about who you're partnering with. The questions that we share with you today are going to reveal things about their communication style, their systems, and their philosophy as a company. And then our goal is going to be to help you as the homeowner determine if that property management company is truly going to be a partner in your real estate business or if they're just another vendor. A good property management company is never going to be just another vendor. They're going to partner together with you so that you both can be successful. But before we get into that, like we introduced last week, it is time for our weekly segment of Behind Closed Doors. Guys, welcome to Behind Closed Doors, where we give you a quick inside look at what's going on here at First Choice Property Management and what we're seeing in the Fort Worth rental market right now. So let's jump into some stats on First Choice Property Management. This week, as of right now, the beginning of December, First Choice Property Management currently manages 517 properties. I believe that's a few shy of what we managed last week. The reason behind that is because we've had a few homeowners whose property were on the market for a few months, and if you know the sales market, that's pretty on par for right now, especially in December. And so they've been sitting on the market for a little while, but our sales agent Amanda, she is amazing. She managed to get them under contract and they finally closed. And so there were a few properties that we removed from our book of business because of a sale. And then every once in a while, with our portfolio being the majority accidental landlords, we had a few homeowners who moved back into their property after moving away for a few years. And so a few homeowners, they did move back into their house. And so a property management company's book of business is constantly doing this. It's going up. Sometimes you see a small downtick and then it goes back up. It's not uncommon with us being in the slower part of the year to see a slight downtick in doors before we get busy during the new year and spike back up. And so as this podcast continues, you'll see a fluctuation of our door count. Now, if you listened to the podcast a few weeks ago, you heard me talk about the homes that we currently have on the market. Last week, it was somewhere around 34, 35 properties. Well, we had a huge influx of applications. We are down to 27 properties on the market as of right now. An influx of applications in November and December around the holidays is almost unheard of. And so we get to remove a few properties off of the market and get them occupied with renters. So that's a big win for our company. The current average days on market for Fort Worth is currently 47 days. First Choice's average with all of our listings is just shy of that at about 43, 44 days on market as of right now. And so it's only by a few days, but we are slightly below the average days on market. Unfortunately, with us being in the slowest time of year, we only expect that to stay the same or even increase as we get closer to the holidays, and then hopefully drop down in the new year. The average rental price in Fort Worth for a single family home is down $12 to an even $2,100. $2,100 is the current average rental price for a single family home in Fort Worth. Last week, it was $2,112. What that means is that as we get into December, we're seeing more and more price decreases in the houses that are currently listed for rent. Whenever you have this much inventory on the market, the only way to stay competitive with other houses is by lowering the rent or offering some type of move-in special. And then as far as it goes with First Choice Property Management, there are a few things that we're working on still behind the scenes. One thing we just released this week is a DFW landlord support page on Facebook. Now, it's not what it sounds. It's not like AA or something like that for landlords, but it is a Facebook group specifically for Dallas-Fort Worth landlords to come and ask questions about their rental properties, about what neighborhoods to purchase in if they want to buy rentals, and then just to ask any and all questions to other landlords and property management companies in the area. Our biggest rule is that we do not allow for rent or for sale listings. We've all seen the Facebook groups. They're just bogged down with houses that are for sale or listings that won't sell or rent. And so this is going to be a group specifically meant for landlord advice, landlord tips and tricks. So if you want to join, please head over to First Choice Property Management Facebook page, and there will be a link there for you to join. We've also been ramping up our AI integration in our company. There is a lot of AI being integrated to our maintenance coordination. And then, like I mentioned in the last episode, we're constantly putting out more and more content for landlords to begin learning. And then hopefully by next podcast, we should have a new website rolled out. So when that's rolled out, we'll send you the link so that you can go check it out. But that is everything going on here at First Choice, and then a brief snippet into the Fort Worth rental market. So thank you so much for sticking with our new podcast segment, Behind Closed Doors. All right, so we really wanted to roll this episode out early on in the podcast because we wanted to give you actual resources that you can take with you when you're deciding on a management company. Even if that answer's not us, we still want you to find the company that fits the best for you because it is a partnership. I want you to think of a business partnership between two people. If one person's unhappy, it doesn't work. Whether that's the homeowner or the management company, that partnership, if somebody's not happy, it is going to be a constant headache. And we're talking about a headache with a $400,000 or $500,000 asset that somebody else is living in, right? And so you'd really want to come at this with a partnership mindset whenever it comes to calling property management companies. So first, I want to lay the groundwork and explain to you a little bit about my role here at First Choice and then our guest star's role in his company. So both of us are what's called a business development manager. Our job is primarily to grow the property management business. And so my day job, whenever I'm not here filming the podcast for all of our Fort Worth property management podcast listeners, is to speak with homeowners every day, provide info on what it would be like if they partnered with our company to manage their home compared to the others here in Fort Worth, and then meet with them at their property and get an actual plan together for listing and managing the property. So there are three main steps that I hit as a business development manager. One, I like to have a phone call or two with a potential new homeowner and see if this is a good fit for each of us for partnering together. Two, I meet with them at the property so that I can meet with them in person, I can see the home, and we can talk through rental prices, make ready repairs, and get a plan together for listing the property. And then three, I sign a property management agreement with him. That's what officially partners us together. That is my main purpose, is to continue to grow our companies and bring on more homes for our company to manage. That is my primary job. In steps 1 and 2, half of my job, of course, is providing information to homeowners, walking them through the process. But the other half of that, I answer questions from homeowners all day, every day. Every phone call I get on has at least 5 or 10 questions from homeowners. You got to think, we are talking about your $400,000 asset, your biggest purchase possibly in your life. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of questions when you're calling a company. We live in the same world. We answer the same questions. The homeowners in Washington think the same as the homeowners here in Fort Worth, Texas. And so we answer hundreds and hundreds of questions every month as we talk with these homeowners, as we're gearing up to rent their properties. So we've heard some of the best questions around and some of the worst questions around. I can't tell you how many times I answer the phone. Their first question is, hey, what is your monthly fee that you charge to manage my house? I tell them the fee. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye. And they hang up. I can't tell you how many times that has happened. Unfortunately, that's typically one of two owners. One, they don't care who manages their property. They want the lowest fee around. Unfortunately, some people are in that position. But two, the other half of those owners, they don't know better. They don't know what else to ask. So our goal with this podcast is to give you the resources you need to ask effective questions whenever you're calling around to these management companies. But what we want to avoid is you choosing the wrong one and it costs you a buttload of money or time. Just think about it. The two things that cost you the most money with a rental property, vacancy and repair costs. Those are the two most expensive things, and you're about to offload that responsibility to a property management company. Do you really want to sign up based on what fees do you charge? I mean, come on, it's rough. And now again, we'll get to that point in a second. I'm not saying completely discredit it, but I want you to learn about the company so that you can make an educated decision on who you choose to go with. So please stick around to the end of the episode so you can have all 5 of those questions that we're going to give you as you start to do your research on property management companies. We are going to bring on our second guest star to the podcast. It is going to be Mr. Brett Patrick. The reason we thought Brett would be perfect for this episode is because Brett and I, we share the same role in a property management company. We see the same patterns every day. Half of our job is to pick up the phone, speak with homeowners, explain about our company, but also answer the questions that they ask us, right? And so we talk with homeowners every day. We've heard the best of the best questions. We've also heard the worst of the worst questions. So we want to provide you guidance on the questions that will actually get you the answers that you want to hear. So some info for you on our guest star today. His name is Brett Patrick. He is the business development manager for the Kenmore Team Property Management Company. They are a full service brokerage up in Kennewick, Washington. I'm willing to bet you money when he comes on, he'll say, our company manages in a town that you've probably never heard of unless you're in the northwest corner of the United States. If he says that, y'all owe me $100. Brett is one of the nicest guys I know. I met him when we were in Rent Skills Mastermind group together. It's where we would get together with other business development managers in property management, talk through objections and how many properties we're bringing on, and just an accountability group. Brett is one of the most honest guys. He shoots you straight. He'll tell you if you're right. He'll tell you if you're wrong. But more importantly, he spends all day talking with landlords just like I do. Brett's been doing this for about 8 years now. He's talked with hundreds and hundreds of homeowners and answered thousands of questions along the way. And so he helped me build this list that we're going to give to you so that you can begin to learn and build trust with the company that you're considering managing. Really cool things about Brett. If you ever get in contact with Brett, you got to ask him about his goats. I'll tell you real quick. He's not on yet, but I'll tell you about it. So he has like 5 or 6 goats that backpack with him whenever he goes hunting. He puts like little backpacks on his goats that carry ammo, food, different necessities whenever you're traveling up a hill and hunting, and they'll go hiking. These goats will literally walk right behind them with just packs and packs of stuff on them. And it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I mean, I can't train my dog Phoebe to stay, but he can train these goats to follow him up and down a mountain with packs of gear on it. It's incredible. And so really great guy, incredible friend. I love getting to see him every year whenever we have our property management conference somewhere in the United States. Like I mentioned last week, we just got back from Nashville. So incredibly honest, knowledgeable, great guy. And Brett has such a deep understanding of owners' expectations. And then he understands owners' expectations and their challenges based on what type of owner they are. Of course, Brett being in the same mastermind group as me, his company views this relationship as a partnership. And so we have the same goal in mind, and we see similar questions in each of the homeowners that we talk to, but we're in completely different markets. So it's going to be an incredible point of view to get from a property management company, a completely different market, but with similar goals in mind. With that being said, please everybody help me welcome to the show, Brett Patrick. Brett, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with all of us today. Welcome to the Fort Worth Property Management Podcast. We're glad to have you.
Thanks for having me, Mason. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm super excited to get to chat with you. Why don't we start out with just letting the listeners hear a little bit about you and your team and where you come from. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so we are a independently owned and operated, basically non-franchise property management company in Eastern Washington, in a town that, unless you're from Washington or Oregon, you've never heard of. We're based in Kenmore. There's about 320,000 people, and we manage just over 600 doors, primarily single family, and we're doing more and more multifamily every year, and we do some commercial as well. We've been around for about, as far as property management goes, we've been doing property management for about 10 years. I've been in this space for 9 of those. So I've been here a long time.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. And during those 9 years, were you primarily business development, or are you an agent as well, like helping homeowners buy and sell their properties?
I started out doing, I guess we want to go way back. I started out with this brokerage on the sales side, actually I was the assistant for 5 buyer's agents at the time. And then we had a assistant property manager who just kind of quit on us randomly. So I started helping out doing just showings, mostly filling in, doing showings. And then I did 2 months later was fully transitioned to property management. And that was 8 years ago. So I've been a licensed real estate agent for 9 years, and then 8 of those have been pretty much full-time property management.
Nice. Okay. And now you're full property management. You're in the business development role as a business development manager. So we have here at the Fort Worth Property Management Podcast, we have a multitude of different listeners. We have some investors. We have a lot of accidentals because that is what first choice primarily is. And then we also have people who are just considering buying their first rental property. So I know y'all are slowly branching out into multifamily, which would be more investor clients. What is your primary owner that you communicate with every day?
Dude, we're really split. I had an owner today that came in, and he has 27 single families with us. He's an investor. And then I have a ton of accidental landlord. That's a lot of what we've been getting in the last 2 years for sure. But I have a bunch that are, investments too. So
okay. And I guess for those listeners who don't know, whenever we say accidental landlords, we mean landlords who maybe bought their first home, they're moving, and they have to rent their house. You weren't always meant to be a landlord, but you accidentally fell into it. That is the majority of what First Choice handles, is accidental landlords, or even those who just slowly want to invest over time. My book of business that I bring in is primarily a homeowner with 1 single family home, maybe 2, that they've bought as they moved throughout Fort Worth. And so the reason that we're telling all of you this is because my job, my perspective with homeowners might be different from Brett's, but Brett is still the expert because he has to walk the line between the emotional side of accidental landlords and the business and very analytical side of investors, right? That's why we thought this topic would be perfect for us to hop on together to talk about. And so, Brett, with that being said, let's jump right into it. Let's get into why the people are here today. Today, we're going to go over the top 5 questions that you should be asking every property management company that you are considering partnering with. And so, Brett, I want to start off with an honorable mention. It's what everybody wants to know whenever they're calling property management companies, but I have it as an honorable mention because I do not think that you should focus solely on this. And so, honorable mention, what is your pricing? And I mean, it's a big one. It's what everybody wants to know the second they call in. But in my opinion, you are signing up for a partnership with a property management company. I think you should focus on building a relationship and getting to know that company instead of just asking their pricing and hanging up immediately. And so what are your thoughts on that honorable mention?
No, I completely agree. And if you are going to ask it, I would say ask how it's structured more or less, because it could sway you. If you break down everyone's fee structures, 90% of us are the same. the way we structure and we get to that cost might be different. Like some people might charge a higher management fee, but might not upcharge maintenance. But some people might charge a lower management fee, but then upcharge on maintenance, and it all equals to be the same for 90% of us. There is the discount property managers and that sort of thing. But yeah, I totally agree. But it is important to ask. And then for some property management companies, I would say that another reason to ask is why it is still important is we will actually, if you have multiple properties, this is kind of talking to the investor, if you have multiple properties, based on how much we like your portfolio, we might discount it more or less. If you have a 30-unit apartment complex that's in the bad part of town, if we even decide to take your property, we might not even discount you at all. But if you have 5 single-family properties that are nice, we might discount your property management service a little bit more because you have more properties. That's, I think, coming from the investor side might be why you might want to ask, might be an angle to ask, I guess.
Yeah, and by no means are we saying to just avoid this question altogether. It's still
Correct.
barely made the list because it is important, but like Brett said, one way or another, the cost is what the cost is. A property management company is a business. They're going to be there to make money. It just may be charged in different ways. It's important to ask. We want you to focus on building a good relationship with the company and partnering based on that. Because I say this nonstop. This is not a one-time service that people are signing up for. It's a partnership, and ideally this is going to last 3, 5, 10 years or more and be a partnership long-term. So you want to find somebody who you fit with. So honorable mention is what is your pricing and what is your fee schedule or your fee structure. Definitely still ask about it, but don't hang up the second that you get that pricing, right?
Yep, totally agree.
Okay. Cool. So now we'll get to the actual list. The top 5 questions that you should ask every property management company you are deciding on partnering with. Brett, you want to reveal question number 1?
Yeah. So what does your tenant screening process look like?
There it is. Yeah. I want to say an episode or 2 ago was tenant screening, and I started off the podcast because this is a big one. This is going to directly impact, 1, the person who's paying rent to you every month, and then 2, how the condition of the property is upheld, right? So it's pretty important. What are some answers that you would look for in good property management companies?
Yeah, so I would want to see that they're doing it, first of all, and just how, which most people are. Like that's kind of silly. I'm mostly joking, but it's not what they answer, it's how. And like you can tell someone's level of experience based on how they answer it, in my opinion, and then how thorough of a job that they're doing based on that answer. If that makes sense. I know that every property management company is going to be doing this, but I want to get an idea of how thorough they're going to be.
Even kind of like their process of doing it, that they have a process, because if they skirt around the question or they're not able to answer it with expertise, if they just say, yeah, we do the background checks, so we do the credit reports, and there's no process behind it, then you could potentially add a lot of risk by not thoroughly doing your homework first, right?
Correct.
Because everybody does a background check, everybody will look at their credit report, but if you take the time to call 2 old landlords and find out that, oh, they were renting from their aunt for 5 years, right? And they destroyed the house. Like if you go that extra step and they're able to articulate that they have a solid process to do that, then you'll be able to tell that distinct difference between company and company, right?
I mean, I have a million of examples of it. I could go on for hours of how we caught things. This was probably a year ago. We had this guy that applied. Looked great. 700 credit score. He made like $20,000 a month as like a general manager, but he'd been working there for like 20 years. Great. Until you got to the landlord verification. So what he had put is that he had owned a home for 6 months, which was true. He did. And he said the reason was they were going to have to be doing a bunch of repairs on this property, and that they were going to decide to rent while they did it, which all makes sense. But they only had 6 months of ownership history. They left out the prior part of their residency history on the application. And any mom and pop landlord, or maybe an inexperienced landlord, is going to be like, oh, fine, you have a 700 credit score, make $20,000 a month, you've been on your job for 20 years. Like, it all sounds great. But then we're like, hey, we need your past. Did you own, or previously, or did you rent? Like, we need that. We need 3 years. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, here's my past landlord. Well, the reason he didn't want to give it to us initially, he was hoping that we wouldn't call him, is because he knew this guy was going to give him a bad reference. And there was a bunch of, like, this landlord's like, well, he owes me like $5,000. And when we denied him and brought that up, he was like, well, I should be suing that landlord and this and that. And it was like, okay, yeah, we don't want anything to do with this. Like, then he turned a flip switch and he got really hostile and started saying all this stuff. And it was just like, yeah, we don't want anything to do with this. Like, and it's in our screening criteria that if you owe a past landlord money, like, we don't rent to you. And so it was like my leasing manager caught that. And it was like, not a lot of people, I don't think, would have caught that.
Yeah, thank goodness. Because the second you call them out, they show their true colors. Right.
Yep.
And then you see what you could have easily dealt with for a full year after that.
Yeah. And it was like the most concerning part was like his attitude after that and how he started bringing up the suing and the threatening of this other land. I'm like, dude, I don't want anything to do with that. So, yeah, no thanks. So
no, that's a great example. You got to make sure that these companies have a process and that they go the extra mile to figure out about these tenants, or you're going to be in for a headache, a year-long headache, right? Yeah. Great. So question number 1 to ask potential property management companies is, what does your tenant screening process look like? And now we will head to question number 2 that you should ask every potential property management company, and that is, how do you handle maintenance and repairs? So Brett, I think one of the main things that I want to know when asking this question is it all in-house maintenance, or do you hire handyman, plumbers, and different vendors like that? And so what I'm asking is kind of the structure of their company a little bit, and then who's going to be completing the repairs on my property. Is that what you get with this question?
Yeah, or does the property manager do it themselves? Yeah. Like, I've heard there's a competitor property manager that I actually really like, but him and his son do like the sprinkler blowouts, like they do patch and paint work and that sort of thing for their owners.
Really? So the property manager goes out there.
And they mostly do rural stuff, and they kind of fit that niche. But yeah, that could be like me personally. I don't want that. I want professional. I want licensed, bond, insured for that stuff.
Yeah, and you also got to keep in mind that whenever this property management company is completing these repairs, technically you are sending repair people, you are sending tradesmen into somebody else's house. This could be a single mom, it could be a family full of girls, who knows what it is, but you're sending a person on your behalf to complete a repair in somebody else's house. Mm-hmm. That in and of itself holds so much liability, and if you don't get a licensed and insured company and something goes wrong, oh my gosh, you are in for a world of trouble, right? And so I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
A spin-off on this is, do you allow owners to do their own repairs? Because, like, again, we don't. If it's occupied, no, I do not allow homeowners to do their own repairs. And that's, again, if that's important for you to do, cool.
That's a really great point. That's the second half of what I'm getting at is when you ask the question, how do you handle maintenance and repairs, you can also ask, who's going to be doing it and can I do my own, right? Because the way that I think I mentioned it about 2 episodes ago, is that property management is kind of a spectrum. On one end, you have the more full service management companies who handle everything for you. And then on the other hand, you have the more moderate service companies. They talk with the renter, they do the leases, and they'll let the homeowner know about every repair, and the homeowner will take care of it. And I tell people that you have to find where you fit. Full service is not meant for everybody, and not everybody's going to want to have to call the handyman on the weekend, right? And so I tell people you got to fit there. And so how you handle maintenance and repairs is a tell-all question. You will find out a lot about a company by asking this question. It's just important that you ask it and dive in as deep as you can, because these are going to be the people who maintain your $400,000 asset, right?
Correct.
Are there any answers to this question that you would avoid altogether? Like, that's a big red flag. You wouldn't want to hear it from a company that you would sign up with?
I do the repairs. Like, that's one. I'm like, personally me, no thanks. Like, I don't need my property manager doing repairs. He might be a great repair guy, but so he's either doing one bad. He's either doing the repairs bad or the property manager bad. I just don't believe you can do both great especially when you get to a certain size. I don't know. It just seems like you can't. To me, I've been doing this long enough. I don't feel like you can do both well. Let's hear yours.
If you hear this from a property management company, you should probably run. We will get 3 to 5 quotes, and we'll go with the cheapest one. If they choose the
Yeah.
cheapest vendor in town, that means that's going to be some pretty poor work on your property. I understand wanting multiple quotes. That makes sense. But if you're looking to just choose the cheapest one around, your property is going to suffer over time. So I would stay away if that's how they answer that question, if they're just choosing the cheapest handyman in town.
Yeah, dude, we do so much stuff, like, and we always are shopping and using other vendors because an owner wants us to use their company and they are licensed and bonded, so we use them. So, like, a high-level property management company is gonna already know, like, they won't have to get 3 vendors because they're already constantly seeing invoices come through.
Yeah.
Like, my maintenance coordinator can tell you off the top of her head how much a hot water heater costs because we have so many properties, right?
Yeah, that completely makes sense. That's a really good point. So, to recap, question number 2, how do you handle maintenance and repairs?
Number 3 is a great transition to the last question, which is what is my level of involvement as the homeowner? And then, so basically, what is your level of service? This kind of has to do with the second question. So I think this is great, number 3. And so, what, I guess, Mason, are answers that you like to hear?
Well, there's a few different ones. And so with first choice, in my position, the way that I answer this question is once you move out and hand over a key, we handle everything from there. We handle pretty much everything from A to Z. And so your property manager, it is their job to be seen as the landlord so you don't have to. And so our level of involvement is that the homeowner, they have to approve the bigger repairs. Outside of that, we handle everything else. And so if you're the homeowner who does not want to be the landlord, that's the right answer to hear. However, if you're the landlord who wants to complete all the repairs on the property, that's going to be the wrong answer for you. So it is about finding where you're at on that spectrum and finding the company to partner with there. And so I think it kind of goes case by case by every homeowner whenever they're reaching out to management companies.
Totally agree. Yep. Alert. Personally think property management companies that do this it'd be kind of a red flag for me because when you get it to a certain size, you can't keep track of all this. And so my property manager hot take is I feel like if you're doing different services for every single owner, somewhere the ball's going to get dropped is my personal opinion and my hot take.
Yeah. Okay. So if they're willing to adjust their standard process for an individual owner, they're probably willing to do it for another and another and another.
And then it just gets lost. Somewhere it's going to be a loss. I feel like there's no way you as a company can keep track of all that. I'm not saying it's a red flag. I'm saying maybe it's one of those beige flags. It's a beige flag, as the kids say, right?
That makes complete sense. Let's explain it a little bit for the listeners who may not do this every day. So if the property management company is willing to adjust their standard process for each individual owner, the likelihood is way higher that they're going to let down your expectations because they don't have a standard operating procedure.
Correct.
And so they're trying to remember that Brett at 123 Main Street only opted in for the 50% full service, and then Mason down the street is as full service as it gets. So I have to remember everything for Mason's property, right? And so that's a very good point. And so even just asking this question, what is my level of involvement as the homeowner? Asking that question puts you in a better position than a homeowner who tells a property management company the level of involvement that they want, right? Because if you're telling the property management company and they bend over and they're like, yeah, we can do that, then they're going to do that for all 500 clients that they have. But if you ask the question, what is going to be my level of involvement, then you're adhering to their standard operating procedure, and they're going to do everything one way and not let down your expectations, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that there's someone out there that's thinking this right now because I hear this all the time. You probably heard, but my property is special.
Yeah.
Yes, we can be a little bit. We can be a little flexible, property specific, and that's kind of what me and your job is making sure that those little things for each owner kind of is is paid attention to.
Right. Yeah, and you can adjust, but whenever it comes to making major changes in your business structure, you have to draw the line somewhere. And a company who doesn't is gonna they're gonna let you down. Yeah. So regardless if you have the same mindset as us or not, it's important to learn your level of involvement. You need to know if you're going to be the one doing all the repairs on your property or if you're going to have a full service management company who's going to take care of it for you. But ask the question, what is my level of involvement as the homeowner? Right. Awesome. That was a really good one. Now let's move on to question number 4. Question number 4 is going to be, can you give me some stats on your company? And so when I hear this question, Brett, I think of stats about the actual business itself. And so I think, how long have you been around? How long have you been in business? And what type of properties do you manage? What service area? So I'm thinking more of the company itself. What comes to mind whenever you hear this question?
Those are great. You 100% should ask those. When I think of this question, though, I want to know how many evictions they do every year, how their average days on market is. I'm looking at how they're answering it. When you're talking to them, if they go, well, let me look it up, like, they should know. Like, I know right now my average days on market. You probably do too. But then I want to know how long their average tenancy is and those kind of like things, because those are going to tell me, first of all, like how good this company is on what they do. It'll also help me budget. Like if I know my average days on market, it's going to be 40 days. I know that I have to budget for 40 days worth of vacancy. But those are the things I want to know. And I'm also, like I said, in all of these questions, I'm looking for how they answer it.
Okay. Yeah, and if they know it off the top of their head, right?
Yeah, that's going to tell them whether I'm just talking to a professional now.
So right now that we're filming this, we're in December of 2025, the very beginning of December. In your market, what is your average days on market?
Dude, ours currently is 44 days. Dude, it's really bad. Yeah, dude, it's the highest average days on market I've seen in the 9 years for December. I'll give it. We always see an increase in December, but it's increased more than I've ever seen it. So it's high. But our average tenancy length is 2.5 years, and we do like 2 evictions a year.
Oh, nice.
We did 2 this year.
For 600 properties?
Yeah, we did 2 this year.
Nice. That's really, really good. We track ours weekly. I also give the podcast an update on our statistics as well. I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, but our average days on market in Fort Worth is 47. That's market wide. For first choice, right now we're sitting at like 43. So I mean, it's a few days, but we're still slightly below. I mean, just being in December, we always factor in a little longer days on market because it's slower, but this year has been dramatically worse.
Yeah.
Like it started earlier for us, and I've seen it get to about 33 to 35 days, like slightly longer than a month.
Our average days on market in August was 20, and so in 3 months.
Wow. It's doubled. Okay. So let's go back to kind of some of the questions that I thought of. How long you've been around? What are the pros and cons to the different answers to that question? Because you'll typically see either 20 to 30 years or you'll see 5 to 10 years, right? And so what are the pros and cons of both? First, how long has your company been around?
Yeah, well, we've been a real estate brokerage like for a long time. We've been doing property management for 10.
And so give me some pros and cons from that perspective. A 10-year-old company, pros and cons for being around that long.
Man, that's a great question that I don't think I've ever actually thought of until you said this. I have a negative view on older companies because like my competitor who's been around for like 30 years, I steal a lot of their business. This is another hot take. So like because they're just stuck in this rut of like where they just do the same thing they've always done and they don't adjust. So like that could be a con, but I know there's good property management companies that have been out there for a really long time. So I wouldn't like say because they've been around longer that they're bad. I'm just saying the one that I compete with that's been around forever, just do the same thing, and they're constantly having the same problems and this and that.
So one pro for y'all is that y'all are more modernized, that you're kind of up with the times, and I would argue that a newer company is going to be a little bit more gritty. Like they're
100% agree.
Be more aggressive, and they're going to want to grow. They're going to want to get these houses occupied and prove themselves.
Yep.
In my opinion, that's what I see from newer companies here, because vice versa, we've been around for 33 years. And so when somebody says that, it is a very big bonus that we've been around for that long, specifically just in Fort Worth. And it's The good thing is that we're doing stuff like this. We're putting out content. We're building podcasts. Our company's constantly changing. We are keeping up with all the new stuff that's coming out, implementing AI and all of that. And so there are pros and cons to both.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask that question, dig deep into what they're doing, dig deep into their actual operation stats, like average days on market, eviction rates. Learn as much as you can about this company, because when it comes time to sign the property management agreement, you need to trust the company that you're partnering with, and then you want to make sure that they're going to be around to manage your property for the long haul. All right, question number 4 was, can you give me some stats on your company? And then lastly, you want to ask about the company's structure. You're going to be partnering with this company. You need to know what their structure is. And so question number 5 that you want to ask each property management company you're considering partnering with is, what is your company's structure? And who will be my main point of contact, right? And so one, I don't think homeowners, you need to know the ins and outs of the business structure of property management. But I do think that it's important that you figure out the distinction in the few different types of companies that there are. And so, Brett, you might have to help me a little bit with this, but I know that there is typically departmental,
Mm-hmm.
there is pod structure, and then there is portfolio based. And so the departmental property management structure is kind of what you think of when you think of a corporate company. You have your accounting department, you have your leasing department, you have your maintenance department, and you don't have a main point of contact. Based on what phase your property is in is who you'll be primarily communicating with. If your house is empty and you're trying to find a renter, you'll be talking with the leasing department. And so, that's the departmental. And then the portfolio based is more of where you have a property manager assigned to your specific house, and they have a portfolio or a book of business that they manage. And so the property manager is mainly responsible for your property within their book of business. In that business structure, you have a main point of contact, which would be your property manager. Does that sound about right?
Yep. Yeah. And just let's kind of go off of the portfolio style. That person manages yours and 100 others potentially. It's usually between 50 and 100 is how many they manage in my experience. And they do everything for those properties, just to be a little bit more specific.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way that I like to think of it is the property manager, they are being the landlord as if this was their rental property.
So what you're going to look for in these is like what fits what you want. If you are like, I don't want to keep track of who I need to contact based on what, then the portfolio style might be what you're looking for. But if you have a big portfolio, like if you have 50 properties or you have a large multifamily, like you can't have one person managing that. So it's like if you are a larger investor, that potentially doesn't work for you. But if you're a accidental landlord, it might be a little more enticing.
Yeah. And I mean, there's pros and cons of each. With departmental, a lot of times you have a staff that's either solely focused on leasing, solely focused on maintenance, right? And so they can specifically focus on your property whenever it enters that part. And so it does get done efficiently, but you have so many different people that you have to communicate with. If you're a homeowner who would prefer to have one person that you talk to, one go-to, then departmental may not be the company that you want to sign up for. Vice versa, portfolio-based, you have one main point of contact. So you have your go-to person. They're basically your business partner, but they coordinate all of it for you. And so when it enters leasing, they're doing that. At the same time, they have one of your other properties that's going through a repair. And so they're handling maintenance. So they handle a lot more. It may take a little bit longer for them to get back to you, 24 hours or something like that. So it has its pros and cons. But I can't tell you how many homeowners, especially accidental landlords, who call in and they're super annoyed because they just couldn't get a hold of anybody at their last company. And it's because they emailed so many different people and they didn't have their main point of contact. And so you got to figure out what would fit best for you. If you go with a portfolio-based company, you'll have a property manager assigned to you, and you'll basically speak with them for all matters on your property. A lot of accidental landlords, they love a person who is extremely hands-on on their property, and they don't like to be a small fish in a big pond, right?
Correct.
And
because there's a lot of emotions, a lot of emotions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of emotional with accidentals. And so these questions, they are meant as guidance to learn and understand the company that you're considering partnering with. There is no 100% right and wrong answers, but it depends on where you fit, right? What kind of management style that you want. I'm going to go ahead and give one more honorable mention, kind of a pro tip. Ask to see a copy of the property management agreement and look at what the termination policy is. Because as you can tell, there's so many different management companies. You can sign up with one and not like it. You might want to see what it would look like to cancel your property management agreement and see what it cost you. And
That's great.
Just kind of second, we'll call it second honorable mention. Maybe we'll put that in part 2 in the future when we have Brett back on. But to recap for you, that is going to be the top 5 questions to ask every property management company you're considering partnering with. Number 1 is going to be, what does your tenant screening process look like? Number 2, how do you handle maintenance and repairs? Number 3, what is my level of involvement as the homeowner? Number 4, can you give me some stats on your company? And then number 5, what is your company structure? Those are the top 5 questions you want to ask every property management company that you're considering partnering with. That'll definitely help you learn about them and hopefully help build your trust along the way. Brett, I really appreciate you joining with us today and taking some time out of your day to talk with us. If people wanted to look you up, where could they find you at online?
Yeah, if you happen to be a Southeastern Washington investor, Braxton, a landlord, you can find us at Kenmore Team Property Management.com. You can email me at Brett, BRETT, at KenmoreTeam.com.
Awesome. Well, Brett, thank you so much for joining us. This won't be the last time that we have Brett on here. We have been in a mastermind group together for years. I just saw him in Nashville a few weeks ago. Here soon, we're going to have to get an in-person podcast rolling. So
Oh, that'd be sweet.
that'd be pretty cool, huh? So it won't be the last time that we hear from Brett, but we really appreciate you hanging out with us here today. And thank you to all the listeners for tuning in to this episode of the Fort Worth Property Management Podcast. All right, man, what a great episode that we had here today, huh? For everyone listening, please keep in mind, choosing a property management company isn't always about just pricing. It is an important part of it. You do still need to ask, but it's about partnership. You are partnering together with the company, hopefully for the long haul. And so you need to learn about that company, get in the ins and outs of that company's structure and their analytics, learn about them, and choose the best one that fits for you. If you're looking for a team that might be a good fit for you, reach out to us at fortworthpropertymanagement.com. If you want a PDF of the top 5 or top 10 questions to ask each property management company that you're considering, leave a comment on whatever platform that you're listening to, and we will definitely get it to you. Please make sure that you download this episode, follow the show so that you're notified every time we upload a new podcast. Please keep an eye out for the next few episodes that we have coming. We got some really good stuff cooking for y'all. We're super excited to keep releasing more episodes into 2026. We're super excited to talk to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 5 of the Fort Worth Property Management Podcast. Take care, and I will catch you in a few weeks.